Hello, my name is BluShades, and this is Masters of the Internet, a podcast about internet people by a guy who does internet videos. This episode is this episode is with this episode is with Zepherus, and this was recorded about 3 months ago in March, late March. So there are some things that are going to be talked about that may not seem relevant right now, but yeah, I lost the audio to the first 5 minutes of this, so it just kind of drops off. So the first thing we're talking about is just intros, and generally we screw up our own intros, so I guess this is just funny that we don't have it anyway. This was supposed to come out in May, so I didn't have an episode for this, and yeah, this is the second episode of Masters of the Internet, so I hope you enjoy.
But if you're talking about British stuff, I quite like Breaking Bad, as in American. But that's really the only American series I've watched that's
Breaking Bad's pretty good despite the fact that I've never watched it.
Yeah, but then I've never seen loads of those kind of big TV series that you have to watch this, you have to watch this. So category of things that I've never seen. It's like how can you not have seen that? But yeah, actually pretty poor when it comes to watching stuff.
I'm also pretty bad about it. I don't even watch a lot of the big TV shows around here, like Shameless or like all this other. I'm not actually a huge TV guy.
What? Shameless?
Oh, it's this big like sitcom. It's actually like I don't even want to say it's a sitcom. It's like an hourly thing. It takes place in Chicago, where I live, actually, and it's like a very crude American like family sitcom. I guess that's the best way I can describe it. It's very popular here.
I've never heard of it, so.
Oh, like maybe I'm. Maybe Chicago's the only thing it's popular with, apparently.
Well, no, I've heard of Chicago, just not Shameless.
Oh, I mean, I'd hope you've heard of Chicago.
Yeah, it's got that big tall Willis Tower thing, and it's right next to is it Lake Michigan? I always get the lakes.
Lake Michigan.
And then that's literally all I know about it.
Fun fact about Chicagoans: if you call it Willis Tower, we'll get mad because it originally was the Sears Tower.
Oh yeah, Sears Tower, and then they renamed it.
Yeah, it's
saying Willis Tower. I was consciously going, okay, what's the old name, and say that because I don't like change. So if something has a new name and an old name, I'll use the old name. But I think I've just got them mixed up. Okay, Sears Tower. That's fine. We'll call it Sears Tower from now on. Oh yeah, the one other thing I know about Chicago, it has a very, very nice flag, and that's 100% of the knowledge I know about Chicago. You've got a very nice flag.
Yeah, the 5 stars, which I forget what they represent, but like each star represents something.
The exhibition, like what is it? Like there was an exhibition, because I know about it because in one of my videos, there's this hotel that was built by H.H. Holmes to kill a bunch of people.
Oh yeah.
And it was happening while the exhibition was going on. I think that's the only one set in Chicago. But yeah, and recently Leonardo DiCaprio bought the rights to make a film out of it. And also there's a book called The Devil in the White City or something. Yeah, so there's apparently a lot of media about that. But yeah, I think that's one of them. Don't know what any of the other stars are. I think they added one because you won like a World Series or something. Yeah, that's the vexillological knowledge. That's my extent of it.
I know we've studied the flag in my graphic design like classes, like and how much we love how we have the best flag. It's pretty goofy. I don't know. Out of all the states, I guess.
Well, yeah. The thing is with the states, though, there's some good state flags. I'll put that out there. There are some state flags that are good. I'll even say that like some that would in other sort of contexts, like normal contexts, because if you look at the British counties flag, which I get flags, which I guess is the kind of equivalent. California flag is not. It would be the worst. Well, I don't think there's any really bad UK ones, but in the context of the US ones, California's fine. because you've got those really hideous blue ones with the like the seals in the middle, and then you've got like Vermont across the top in like golden letters. If you've got lettering on a flag, then your flag isn't working. It's what is it, like seals on bed sheets, I think they're called.
Yeah.
And it's, but I do like Hawaii though. Hawaii's got a good one because it's got a Union Jack on it, and that means I automatically.
It's got a Union. I have never seen the Hawaii flag. I gotta look this up.
Yeah, it's got the Union Jack in the corner because I think we briefly owned it, but that kind of goes for everything.
Oh yeah.
And then you got all the stripes across. I don't really like the stripes that much because because when you've got all those colors together, I just see the flags of, I'm not sure whether because I don't know which order they're in. It's either the Netherlands or Russia, but I just see the kind of like flags of those on top of each other.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a good one. What other good one? Oh, I like the New Mexico flag. New Mexico flag's good. What else is there? I don't know. I don't really know many state flags off the top of my head. Apparently, the San Francisco one's terrible, but that's not a state, and I've never seen it.
There is, not Vermont, but one of the worst state flags ever. I forget what it is, but it's like a town flag. If I can find it right now, it'll give you a chuckle.
The flag of Milwaukee. Is that how you pronounce it? I've got no idea.
Yes. You got that right.
The worst one is... I don't know why I know... I've never been to this country, but yet I know so much about all like the little flags that people come up with for seeing.
Because it just crams everything in there.
No, because the story behind it is there was like a contest to find the flag for Milwaukee. I feel like I'm pronouncing that wrong.
No, that's perfectly right. Milwaukee.
Okay. And basically the guy who was hosting the contest got all of the submissions and then made them into one. That's why it's so busy. But the aggravating thing is, you look at the gear, in like the left bottom hand, there's another flag. Milwaukee battle flag, and it is infinitely better. So they've included a better flag on their worst flag, and that is just that makes it so much worse because you're taunting me with that. Because oh my god, it reminds me of the Amsterdam flag, which I quite like, which is got like red with like black crosses. I saw it everywhere when I went to Amsterdam, but then I suppose when you've got a good flag, you see it everywhere because people take pride. But I am perfectly happy to just discuss flag design for the next hour because I like flag design. Also, like the one podcast I've ever listened to, Hello Internet, talks about flag design loads. So I'm pretty like in depth here.
You're pretty passionate about your flags.
Yeah, I like my flags. I am glad that I live in a country that's got a good flag, although that, judging from like recent world events, I don't think it's going to last much longer. Which is a shame because I quite like the design.
I don't want to like be presumptuous here, but are you talking about Brexit?
No, I'm talking about it's connected with Brexit. Although basically we've had this flag since 1800 something or other, and if you look at the design of it, presumably you'll know the design, but I'll go through it again. If you look at the design of it, it's actually the flag of England, Scotland, and Northern Ireland stacked on top of each other. But that means if Scotland leaves, you'll have to change it to this white background, which looks significantly worse. But recently, Scotland had that first referendum where they narrowly voted to stay, which is good because I want them to stay because, again, I don't like change. And also, I quite like Scottish people. And now that Brexit's happened, Scotland has used that as a mandate to go, hey, you want to go. And because it was so narrow last time, chances are that this time they are going to vote to leave. And right now, it's just a case of the Prime Minister going, no, now's not the time. But if it wasn't for that, basically the union is falling apart. And I don't like that because I quite like the United Kingdom. Yeah, and that means we'll have to change the flag. And I also quite like the flag. So, what do you know? I got the colours of my... So that sort of weird mountain thing, I got the colors from the Union Jack, which is good because people, when I was redesigning it because the last one was copyrighted, and I didn't know. When I was redesigning it, people wanted me to keep the red, white, and blue from the last one, which was even more heavily based on the Union Jack. So I've somehow managed to get flag design back to me, which is
It's come full circle. I mean, you do have like the colors, so well, not sure if that was like intended, but like in your icon and generally your design and your channel. Well,
well, I don't have the blue. I quite like navy blue. I think no, that's my favorite color. The sort of
the dark
dark
blue.
blue. I quite like, but that's not in my logo. If I look, no, it's just red and white. Red with like shading and then white.
Okay, yeah, the Union Jack has like a brighter blue. I apologize. Jesus. I am wrong about that.
Jack, it's got the same colors as my logo. Hold on. That is brighter. But if you look at the flag of Scotland, they have a different shade than the one in the background. Because the Scotland flag is supposed to be in the background of the Union Jack because they're all stacked on top of each other. It is the background, and it has a different shade in its actual flag as opposed to as it as a background of the Union Jack. I'm pretty sure that's accidental, but fun fact, France has two flags, one for kind of normal and one for sort of ceremonial kind of mourning occasions. I don't want to say mourning, but sort of more serious occasions. And the more serious one, the blue, is darker. And I read that somewhere, and it is very interesting because it does look rather more serious. And I think also the red is slightly darker, but I'd have to look at like a color chart or something
To know that, yeah. Like it's the same design but just darker colors.
Yeah,
Huh.
but it has the effect. It's not like it's totally silly and it doesn't work for its intended purpose. It does actually look more serious, which is it does its job. So I can't argue with it.
But you like graphic design and like flag design.
Yeah. Whenever I see pictures of America, there's always flagpoles with flags everywhere, and you see way. I have never been to America, but I would feel like if I went there, I would see a lot more US flags than I see Union Jacks here. Yeah, it's you guys love your flags.
Yeah, we do, considering like outside of every public institute is a flag. So like I live right by a fire department. They have two flag poles across the street. I'd say there's like more flag poles and like flag holders from residential areas, but like all the public institutes and public places, it you can't go without seeing it like going outside. And I don't even live in a very like patriotic place, like necessarily in Illinois.
Well, you live in the US, so
Yes, but it's not comparative to like southern towns and stuff. Like I live in a very liberal area, I guess, if you want to say that. It's not very like we don't have Confederate flags. We don't have flags ever. Like on my street, I think I'm the only person with a flag, not by my own volition, but like we have a flag out every so often, but I don't see my neighbors with flags, so oh. But we definitely do have a lot more flags like flying around.
no, definitely. Yeah, I'm trying to think of the nearest flag to me, and there's quite a few upstairs for me. There's I've recently got a Royal Navy Jack. Is it a Navy Jack? I'm not sure. I shall Google while I explain, which is bad because I'm terrible at typing and speaking at the same time. But I got a Royal Navy Jack, which is flown on ships and is absolutely massive. It's about 8 foot long. Is this? Yeah, there it is. The white, something like that. And yeah, it's absolutely massive. So I guess that's the nearest one because I'm directly above where it's stored, so about 6 feet above me. But the nearest flying flag, I don't know if there was any fly. Well, I can't think of a flying flag near me. especially considering that I'm not in sort of, I think I'm in the countryside. So the nearest one would probably be in like a village or something. But it's night now, it's midnight, so presumably they will have taken it down now. I'm not sure. Do you take flags down at night? I feel like there's like an etiquette to these things.
Yes, like as far as I know, we usually take them down at night. Um, there are some places that I've seen, like I frequently go out on walks at night, usually like midnight, which is terrifying, especially in Illinois. But there's like our fire department will take it down, but like there's this flagpole near a lake by me that doesn't, and then there's several other people that don't. But I usually would think, or my family usually takes their flags down. So yes, there's etiquette, but it's not always followed here.
I'm just curious, what's the reasoning behind taking them down?
Um,
So they don't get stolen? Or...
either that or there's some kind of like unspoken rule. I would imagine it would be because of like I don't have a necessarily good answer for it.
I mean, it does seem if you like respect a flag loads, you wouldn't want it sort of flying at night or in the rain or something, but it doesn't seem practical.
No, it doesn't.
Hoist and unhoist this thing kind of every night. It's like having a pet or something. Well, it's a lot less than having a pet, but it's still that extra effort that I don't quite sort of.
It's a nice thing to like have like displayed. So
Yeah, I like I like flags, and I have too many to kind of have them displayed. But yeah, they're very nice things, and I could see why you'd want to sort of fly them.
yeah.
It's just kind of the weird kind of etiquette rules that kind of come with that. But then I suppose you get that with sort of anything that exists past 300 years old. So
Yeah, when the I guess tradition and like rules behind it are long gone, or
yeah,
all the rationale of it, I guess. I have flag. I just realized, like talking about flags, I have flags in my room, but they're all bands, and I just realized like that's another thing. Like not only like what
they're all bad.
what band?
Well, it sounded to me like you said that you had loads of flags in your room, but they were all banned.
Yeah, they're
Like they
all.
weren't allowed.
Oh no, no, they're from bands like music bands.
Oh, oh.
No, don't worry. I'm not flying like a swastika or anything in here.
It's a shame, really, because no, because I was watching. There's this film called The Book Thief. Book called The Book Thief, I think, and
Yeah,
it was
yeah.
set in Nazi Germany, and they have loads of swastikas everywhere. And I was kind of discussing with myself why fascists always have strong symbols, because if you look at all the symbols of fascists, they're always really iconic and powerful, and it must be to do with sort of how they rely on symbolism or something. Because if you look at symbols of parties today, of like political parties that are quite moderate, their symbols are not very good. But if you look at symbols of like fascists, like the British Union of Fascists, which I don't think exists anymore, but that has a really good logo. The Nazis borrowed a really good logo from, I think it's Hinduism.
Yeah, Hindu. I forget the specific name for it.
Yeah, it comes from Sanskrit, I think, svastika, and then the communists, their kind of like hammer and sickle golden thing with the red. They've got a really good sort of design thing going on, even if they do kind of muck up the flags where they put like text on it. I can't think of the name where they put text on it loads, but they've got the hammer and sickle thing down. But yet, moderate parties don't seem to have that sort of iconic symbolism going on, at least not that I can think of. So it must be to do with kind of the way they work through symbolism. I was thinking, and I managed to discuss the entire thing without ever saying that the swastika is good. So I think I kind of handled that quite well. Oh wait,
You're having a moral conundrum with yourself there about the swastika. Oh,
yeah. I mean, my sort of one sort of get out of jail free card is that it was like in existence way before the Nazis. It's not like Adolf Hitler went, aha, here is a thing that I'm going to use solely for portraying the Nazis, and it's never going to be used in other contexts, because then it would be bad. But because of the whole Buddhism, Hinduism thing, it was an existing symbol. It's just some evil people have gone along and tainted it.
Yeah.
I can sort of still go, oh, it's still a good symbol.
Yeah, just not when it's like turned 30 degrees.
Yeah, like turn it 45 degrees and then like paint the background kind of red with a white circle, and then no.
Yeah, you turned it from the symbol of peace in Eastern. Well, I don't even. I think it's
Yeah,
peace in
it
Eastern.
changes meaning depending on which direction it's rotating.
Yeah.
And then when you turn it 45 degrees, suddenly it's the one that they used on the Nazi Germany flag. So yeah, just don't turn your swastikas. Moral of the story.
Moral of the story, yeah. And as for like to add on to like the symbolism with very bold and radical movements, another thing with the Nazis is like one the lightning thing and I forget the specific name of the eagle. They have so many like
Oh
so
yeah,
many
no,
symbols.
there's this really, I'm not sure what the name of it is, but basically the place where they declared war on America, there's a picture of Hitler declaring war on America. I think it was like December 19th, 1941, something like that. A couple of days after Pearl Harbor in Hawaii. And they have got a really good kind of, the first thing I noticed about that picture is not like all these angry people declaring war on America. It's they've got a really good kind of eagle background. I'm going to try and find it and post it in the Discord thing. There we go. There it is. Rare historical photos. I'll put it in the thing so you can see what I'm talking about. Otherwise, I just might be a mad person.
Oh yeah, that's exactly what I'm talking about. There is a specific name that I used to know. I forget what it's called though. That's a very iconic symbol. Also, and I guess to relate like modern too, um, like ANCAP and communism, like or anarcho communism. Their flag is just very bold, black, red.
Yeah, I don't like, because you see all those flags with like the diagonal black thing going across. I don't like that. The I very rarely like black on flags. If it's a symbol, it's fine. If it's like the Prussian flag, where it's red, white, and black in that order, kind of in a tricolor type thing from top to bottom, it's fine. I quite like the Prussian flag, or I think it's the Imperial German flag. I'm not sure which one it is, but one of them. That's fine. But you'd be very hard pressed to get me to like a flag that's got sort of any more than a third black in it, because eventually it's not a flag anymore. It's like half a flag and then half just nothing, space, and like the void.
I think pirate flags are like exempt because there's like a symbol in the middle that like takes up the space, but it like complements it depending on how it's used.
I quite like how all the different pirates had their own flags. I actually really like that, but I'm still torn on the whole. It's got loads of black and it's just nothing, but also it's got a cool symbol and it's got like skeletons and stuff, which is quite cool, I guess. So yeah, I'm just kind of 50-50 on that at the moment. I might come to like a verdict by the end, but don't expect me to, because I'm very slow at making up opinions.
Yeah, you're fine. We should probably like actually head into the questions, possibly, only if you want to, because this has been a really laid back conversation. Oh, of course, yeah.
I, I, we will, but I just like really enjoy when it's not,
Arbitrary, like
oh, what's the favorite part of making videos? I quite like it when it goes off on that. But then I suppose the only podcast I've ever listened to is just that. So it's basically all I've ever known with podcasts, and it hasn't been like interviews.
right. I'm trying to make it like obviously this is a loose format, but like we can go off from there. Like
Yeah, no, it's good. It's good to have something to kind of fall back to if the conversation dies, which I guess like eventually it must do. But yeah, it's fine. It just be prepared for loads of tangents because that's just generally how I speak.
That's fine. If I was in that position, that's usually how I am. Like, for some reason, just to add this on, I don't know if I'm gonna cut this, but like somebody will ask me a very simple question, and for some reason, I'll go into the philosophical semantics of it. I don't know why. It's just something I'll do.
Mhm.
But yeah, um, uh, I'll just ask you, like, I'm just gonna pick one of these randomly because yeah,
Okay, I have various notes on a piece of paper, and most of them are just a sentence, so I'll expand on them.
I guess like most of your audience is gonna see this, but like I don't know if you've answered this yet, but how does it feel to be in the 100K subscriber range, like personally, like now that you got there?
First of all, I never thought that I would ever get close. I thought it would be a fun thing that I kind of did for a while because I enjoyed it personally, and it would never really amount to anything. And now there's 100,000 people subscribed to me, and yeah, that was. And it all. If you look at the Social Blade statistics for it, presumably we'll put those up for the people watching. It basically happened overnight, within a week, and actually within a week of my birthday, it all kind of happened. I went from about 5K to about 85K. It all just sort of spiraled all at once. And to be honest, back then I didn't really I can't visualize it, and I still don't. It's been about 6 months, and I cannot visualize 100,000 people. I physically cannot. I'm not sure whether that's just me being bad at visualizing stuff, because I am bad at visualizing stuff, but also like the human brain just can't visualize 100,000. I tried like the gyms I've been in, because I went to the Walking with Dinosaurs thing at the O2 Arena in London, and it fills that up basically. I also went to a Titanic exhibition there, but they didn't use the stadium. Yeah, and then like Wembley number one court. Yeah, no, the O2 Arena, the capacity is 20,000. I could fill that 5 times over, and I just cannot visualize that. And then the number one court, which I've been to and watched some tennis there, which was very nice. I was 11,000, so I could fill that about like 9, 10 times over. It's ridiculous. It's so many people, and I'm glad they like me in a sort of very superficial, ego boosting way. But I still cannot visualize it. It's incredible. It is absolutely incredible.
Really, like you think about it like you said with the stadiums. I've like thought about that too, even though I'm only like what 3,000 subscribers. Um, that is a lot, like in the YouTube like way. Like for me, it's like I've always wanted to do YouTube, so I'm like, yeah. Not to say I'm not tooting my own horn. I'm like I really want to like be like bigger because I this is my fun fact. This is my career. Like I do video, but um, it's just I also like at this like level I can't visualize 3,000 people really liking my content either. Like now that I think about it, you have 100,000 and you're thinking about like the numbers behind that, and I like yeah, that's just how it is. It's like holy crap, like these people watch me, like I have this amount of attention on me.
And I'm approaching 5 million views, which is also something that I don't want to even think about because I know I won't be able to visualize it. And I've been looking at the analytics, and if you played all the times my videos have been viewed, it's 23 years. It's ridiculous. Oh my god, it's ah. The best way of describing my emotion to that is just a noise, and that is ah. What? Yeah, it's beyond sort of my comprehension.
2023. How many? How many hours again? I'm sorry.
I'm not sure what it is in hours, but I convert it. Well, I can actually look at the moment because I have YouTube open, which is brilliant because we're discussing YouTube, and I have the forethought to do something for once. What is it? Would it be under watch time? I don't. I've got no
Yes,
idea.
I believe it's watch time.
Watch time. Aha. Yes, here it is. And then if I just kind of cycle it back, oh look, you can see all the peaks where I upload stuff. My So in one day, people watched 4 years of my content. It's and that's like a double peak as well. That's too thick. Wow. So in total, it's 57 years, 178 days, or 30 million minutes, which is yes. No, that's gone. My brain. No, I can't visualize it. I physically cannot visualize it. Oh well.
Yeah, it's a little impossible, but also like thinking about it, like that amount of years is attributed to your name. Like whether you like that's a collective number, but like altogether, like the insanity of it, like just the YouTube alone, like that's the amount of time all of your audience together, like it blows the mind.
Yeah, it does. It's pretty incredible. I'm just getting a picture of this to. It's. Yeah, I know I'm gonna not succeed at describing this because it's beyond words, but it is incredible. Thank you everyone for doing this. Yeah, it's pretty fantastic.
Yeah, 57 years, 178 days.
The peaks are in comparison, but hopefully my best is yet to come. I don't know what's going to come next. Hopefully it's something good.
Well, considering like overnight that you got to like where you are, not overnight, but like you in oh it does. I would imagine getting to 100K that fast like is insane. Before you know it, you're probably going to be hitting a mil or 500K. Think about that for a second. Like I know you're saying like I've hit this mountain here, but like really with how YouTube and the algorithm and like how fast you go, that doesn't necessarily change unless you stop doing content. So like if you really think about it, like you're gonna hit that level before you know it if you just keep going.
Yeah.
Scary, isn't it?
Yeah, that would be one word to kind of describe it as. Yeah. Well, I'm gonna make more stuff. I have a tendency to do other stuff in between. So there's usually like a 2 month gap between them, which is annoying. And people have called me out on it saying, oh, 2 months, if you uploaded quicker, you'd be at 500K by now. But yeah, like I'm doing stuff right now, but there'll be a period coming up where I'll be able to work solidly on this, which will be good, which means I can relax on stuff. But I've got quite a lot of stuff to do in the meantime. So I've written a script for the next one.
Oh, very nice.
It's like a draft script, so it's not finalized. But usually I'm at this stage, and then it all sort of happens in 2 weeks because I kind of dwell on a script for about a month. And well, usually finding a topic takes about a month, and then script 2 weeks, and then once I've got a good script, I can record, edit, and then kind of do all the video stuff pretty quickly if I'm not doing anything else.
Research does take the most time.
Yeah, and making sure all the facts are correct as well. I think I've done pretty well so far, but if you go back, I don't recommend you go back. But if you go back to some of the earlier videos, there's some hideous ones. There's some hideous videos and some hideous errors as well. There's been some that have been so bad I've actually like unlisted them. I don't want them to see the light of day. They're so bad. It's so bad. And people are like, "Oh, where did that video that's now been unlisted go? I really like that one." And it's like, no, you don't. No, don't say that. It's bad. Don't.
Of course, you're going to be overly critical on yourself, though.
Well, yeah, the thing with my content is that I don't really like it. It's basically I want to make something that I would like to see. That's kind of what I set out to do on YouTube. I make stuff that if I wasn't making it, I would be watching it, and I feel it feels terrible compared to other people who have like put in loads of effort. I know I put in quite a bit of effort, but looking at others that have similar sub counts or slightly lower and who put in so much effort and create these really good things, and then I'm just here with a microphone going, hey, it's a cool thing that happened once. cool. I feel like I get a very heavy case of imposter syndrome from kind of comparing subcounts with other people. I feel like I do not deserve to have that many people follow me, but I guess it's not my choice; it's theirs. So there's not much I can.
Yeah, it's to kind of relieve that idea. Like you don't see that your work is up to par with other people, but you can't really think of it that way. Like the way I would think about it is you're doing something educational in a way, and you have to really think about it. Like, I'm sorry if I sound redundant when I improv. This is why I script most of my things because I sound like an idiot.
Everything I do is scripted, but it's just you kind of paused between the educational and something, so it's like you do something.
No, it paused to the thing. You do something. No, I said like educational, but you bring like information in a very clear and like fun way, and like it's easily consumable too. Not to say that that's nothing against you. I don't try to make my content hard to watch. Like it's about accessibility really, and not to say the other people that you watch that you admire don't, but like there's just a certain audience for what you do, and that's why you've gotten to where you are now.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, but I still feel like my stuff's terrible. Loads of people have given me the, oh no, your stuff's like fine, but no matter how many people say like try to like wean me off the idea of, oh no, it's just because you make it, it's not actually like horrible, and you're not actually got like in a case of the imposter syndrome. It doesn't go away. I think that's just going to be there forever, however long I do this.
Yeah, it's a terrifying thought. Like, where does my legacy peak? It's a, that is an awful thought. But
It can extend to like everything else as well, just like life in general.
yeah, oh yeah, did
Yes, bad thoughts. I'm going to get into your head before you try to go to sleep because then you won't be able to. Yeah, that's why I usually watch YouTube as I go to sleep
yeah.
so that I don't have my life is going to end soon. Oh,
I'll recommend you some I'll recommend you some videos that might deter you from wanting to watch YouTube for a good sleep, especially with like existentialist semantics that we're talking about, just like awful philosophy that's just like, oh god, why would you ever put this on paper? Like just very dangerous thoughts. Now this suddenly got depressing. Let's actually ask another question. Let me see. I wanted to improv like some too, like or improvise one. Are actually like a personal question about philosophy. I know you're like science and history, but like are you well versed in like just philosophy and like ideas and stuff?
Uh, I I'm not as well versed as I would like to be. I kind of know the basics, and especially when it comes to religion, because I am atheist, and you have to be atheist, you kind of need to know what the alternatives are, and especially Christianity, because people will come up to you and say you're gonna go to hell otherwise.
Yeah,
So I'm more sort of well versed on religious,
religious
but
theory
then
and
like also some I've read into some, and like some people like Jeremy Bentham and Frederick, I'm going to make my legacy hell for people who want to spell my name, Nietzsche, and I'm gonna probably go and see Karl Marx's grave in the summer because I'm going up to London. I'm
very
going to go
nice.
to Highgate and look at all the dead people, which is my idea of a day out. And yeah, I'm probably going to go and see Karl Marx. But apart from that, I basically know very little, although I feel like I could fake it if I really had to.
You're probably well spoken about it, so yeah. I'm very. That was just an improv question because I'm more well versed in like philosophy than history and like sciences. Unfortunately, that's just my thing. But that's a random question.
Well, yeah, well, it's good. It's better than being asked for the 50th time. Oh, what's your real name? Oh, what do you do? because it and how I've never been asked about my personal like what I know about philosophy before, and that's interesting. I like that. I prefer that over like the classical sort of questions that people.
All the very forward ones that I have, which I'm looking at this list. I'm like, I gotta have a little bit more interesting like questions for him because he's just more of an interesting person to talk to than like, how's your channel?
Huzzah! I have been called interesting. Brilliant. I'm gonna put that on my gravestone.
I mean, your content is certainly interesting. Basis on the fact that like it's educational, but that's my own thing. That's my own opinion. That was a butchering of the English language and like construction. Like I'm just trying to say, yeah, you're great, but I said it in the most roundabout, stupid way possible. Uh,
Well, I inferred meaning from it, so it kind of did its job
yeah,
in a weird sort of Rube Goldberg construction of the English language kind of way. It did its job in the end, so it's fine.
I was about to say like Zephyrs is with a Y.
Not how I'm spelling it.
Yeah, I know.
I don't like how it's spelled with the Y, so I don't spell it with the Y. And it also helps differentiate my search results between people who actually want classical and people who want to watch a video about Berners Street hoax or something. I don't know. Yeah,
Speaking of the, I guess not even weird spelling. It's stylized in a good way, and you've made it your own. But speaking of your videos, what has been like your favorite video you've done so far?
in a sort of romantic sense, I would like to think my best video is one that I haven't yet made. Like the peak is still ahead of me. But if we're talking past tense, like the best video I've made, for me, it would probably be The Big Piece and Amber Room, like close behind. Those are like the two that I really like because number one, the Big Piece is Titanic, and it's something obscure, which is hard to kind of come by when it comes to Titanic, because people know that stuff inside out. I've loved Titanic since I was 6 years old, but there's still so much, and people who were like, "Oh, well, the rivets are actually Type C instead of Type D," and you got all these people who, if you gave them about 10 years and a scrapyard worth of materials, they would reconstruct it down to sort of the fittings because they know so much about it. So I'm quite proud with the subject matter, and I also knew about The Big Piece since I was 10. So it was kind of like a moment of realization. It's like, wait, here's this thing that I already know. People don't know about it. I had that recently with the Dam Busters. I did a survey on Twitter about who knows about the Dam Busters. Oh, do you know about the Dam Busters?
I'm unfamiliar.
Yeah, you see, this is again things that I think people know about and they don't. Like, because the Dam Bust, I'll tell the story of the Dam Busters, and then we'll go back to like why I like those two videos. The Dam Busters are like British wartime heroes, I'd say. I would say their story is quite well known in the UK, where basically they took a Lancaster, but they wanted to destroy all these dams in Germany because they were producing power for the German war effort, and also you could flood all these factories as the dams sort of caved in. So, but the thing is, they're built really strong because of all the water they need to keep back. They're about like 18 feet thick at their weakest point. So what you have to do is build a really powerful bomb that you can somehow detonate next to a dam. So what they did is this very clever chap called Barnes Wallace developed something called the bouncing bomb, where the Lancaster bomber would fly kind of along the water towards the dam, and then once he got kind of like the two towers of the dam lined up with kind of like markings on the side of the plane, so he got like the distance right because they did that beforehand because they were targeting one specific dam in particular. They dropped the bomb, and basically the bomb was this big cylinder. I would describe it as an oil drum, but I visited one yesterday, and it's quite a bit bigger than a cylinder. So like a big cylinder that's like twice the diameter, and they're spun up, so they backspin at 500 RPM, and then you drop them, and they bounce on the water, like across the surface, like a skimming stone, and then they hit the dam, don't explode, and because they're spinning, they sort of crawl along the side of the dam as they sink. So as they sort of sink, they follow the dam down, and then when they hit at about 30 meters depth, like the pressure sensors go off, and then it explodes. And it is just brilliant. And it's a brilliant story, and I'm probably going to do a video about it if something even better doesn't come up. But that's not my next video. So that's the story of the Dam Busters. Sorry, I went off on a tangent. These two videos I really quite like, because not only is it Titanic, but it's something obscure that is I both genuinely like the subject, and also they're sort of quite palatable for everyone else. It's very hard to gauge these things. If I knew how to gauge these things, I would factor that in. But it's the difference between the Wembley Tower, which is a video I really liked. I didn't realize people that has like half as many views as the Amber Room, so I'm going to say it's less palatable. It's hard to gauge like the difference between an Amber Room subject and the difference between like a Wembley Tower subject, because I really like the Wembley Tower video. It's hard to sort of distinguish whether I like it because it's good or I like it because I like it, and everyone else will find it meh. Yeah, those seem to have a good. The two videos that I mentioned before, Big Piece and Amber Room, seem to have a good mix of them, and it's just to the point where I was getting competent at editing, so I don't sort of cringe at that either. Though I still don't watch them. This is all kind of my memory of them watching them like 3 months ago.
I do really like the Big Piece episode, so I'm glad you said that. And also, like you said, the romantic way. Like I was hoping you would say like it's gonna come later, or like I hope to think that it's coming later. That's always a good outlook.
Yeah, I would like to think that too, but it feels like a cop out to the question. He's like, oh, what's the favorite video that you've made? I would like to think it's still to come.
Sometimes the best questions are like the ones that make you think a lot more with questions. So specifically, and this is not on your question thing, what sparked your love for the Titanic?
Aha, I know this one. There is this book. I'm not sure of the title of it, but I've got it somewhere in the dwelling that I currently am inside. And it's this picture book of the Titanic, like all the cutaways of it, like being built, and like the maiden voyage and the sinking and all the different stages of the sinking, and it with all these facts around the outside, and it's brilliantly illustrated, and I adore it. And my mum got it for me for, I'm not sure, I don't think it was my birthday, but when I was 6 years old. And yeah, I never really stopped talking about the Titanic, because that book really, really, really grabbed me. And yeah, I just started demanding more Titanic stuff, and here we are. And I still love the Titanic. Incidentally, last night was the 105th anniversary to the hour of it sinking. So that's a Titanic fact. I'm not sure why I said that.
You typed that to me last night. I did not watch it, unfortunately, because I was at work at the time. But yeah,
Like the first half of it live, and then I went to sleep because it was a ridiculous hour, even for me. And I go to sleep really late, seeing as it's like 1:12 now, and it's fine. And then I watched the rest of it this morning. People were in the room, happened to be in the room with me as I was just watching it, and they ended up like watching it as well. And it was quite interesting because it all sort of happens in the last 20 minutes, from the bridge going under all the way to completely gone. It's 20 minutes, whereas the whole thing is 2 hours and 40 minutes. It snowballs. That's how flooding works, I guess.
yeah. You don't like it. It's like I haven't seen the video, obviously, but is it like a picture from the outside? Obviously, like a video of the outside.
Well, yeah, basically, the story behind that is these people are making a game called Titanic Honor and Glory, and I don't mind making like plugging them because they're very good, and they're making a game, and they've made a model of Titanic because you can walk around every single room and whatever. That's the whole point of the game. So it's a very, very good. And they've just released a demo for they've just released a trailer for the new demo, which I'm really excited about. but yeah, it's they've kind of as a byproduct, they've made this kind of digital model of the Titanic that's perfectly accurate. So what they did for last year's anniversary, 104, they basically sunk it in real time. They also added sound effects and what have you. And then this year they streamed it in real time, because last time they just uploaded it, but this time they streamed it and commentated it. And when I say there's people that know their stuff about Titanic, the people making this know their stuff about Titanic. That they know so much. I can only sort of aspire to sort of get near them in terms of knowledge, but it is ridiculous, and I cannot wait either for the demo or for the full game.
Or did they have a Kickstarter?
They have a Kickstarter, and they also have a sort of contribution page where, like, if you donate $50, which is like it's like £40 now, I guess. Then you get like all these things, and I'm definitely going to do this. If they can have like my soul in exchange for this game, I don't care what they take. I just want this game. I've never wanted something so much, apart from like immortality or something, but that would probably be a bad idea in the long run.
You just gave me an idea for question later in the interview, but but also, just like right now, I'm even excited, like a game where you can explore every room.
It's Belfast, it's Southampton, it's Queenstown and Cherbourg, I think, as well. They're adding on. It's every single like cabin and all the engine rooms, and they've released 2 free demos already, which like it's beautiful. My background right now for my desktop is an in-game screenshot of the aft grand staircase from the free demo. I will post it. It will take a while to pop up, but it is beautiful, and it is quite like resource consuming on my computer. But I don't care because it's absolutely beautiful. And yeah, I don't really like sponsorships. I'm pretty sort of anti sort of, brought to you by Squarespace, blah 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 blah. I feel sort of uncomfortable with it. But if I ever sort of get in contact with them and they offer to go, okay, here's this sort of corporate exchange thing that we can do. Like, you can use this all footage from the game in your video as long as you plug us at the end. I would accept that in a heartbeat. I mean, it's so beautiful, and I cannot wait. And yeah, that's all I really have to say about that. It'll pop up soon, and it is beautiful. Otherwise, I wouldn't have it as my sort of background wallpaper imagey thing.
Right. In relation to like sponsorships, like, yeah, if it's not related to your content, it just takes away from the pace of a video. Also, the wallpaper. Oh my god, that's an in-game rendering.
I took that in game as like a print screen of
that.
It's not like a point and click thing where it's like you click the stairs and then you go up about 10 feet. It's like
first person.
It's like you walk around like Minecraft type, walking around first person, and it's gonna be the whole thing. They've already done. They've done most of the ship, I think. It's just they've got a new that's from demo 2. They're coming out with a new one where it's going to be docked in Belfast, and I'm really excited because not only have they done more of the ship, but I've been to Belfast specifically for going to the Titanic Museum, because they've got a very nice Titanic Museum there. And I will recognize all the gantry cranes and stuff. So I'm also excited about that because I can see where I've been in kind of how it would have looked, which is very exciting. So yeah, something about corporate.
Have you been, since you're like reaching those levels on YouTube, have you been like contacted by sponsorships already?
Well, the only one I've ever been contacted by was today, actually. You get the odd sort of, if you sign up to this thing, we can improve your channel, as like a MCM thing, which I'm pretty against because I don't really like the multi-channel networks. But I actually got my first kind of sponsorship offer today, which I'm not going to accept because I've already made well, I've already done the script for my next video, and also it's like not related whatsoever to the stuff I want to do. So yeah, if something comes along which like happens to be what I'm doing anyway, like I'm torn between two topics, and then someone comes along and says, hey, we'll give you like £1,000 if you like make this one and plug us at the end, I will probably do that one because I'm quite greedy. Haven't really replied to it because it's quite awkward to say, oh no thank you. So that's that really.
Right. I'm also pretty against it, despite me being in like the early stages. I don't even want to be in a multi-channel network just because of all the stuff that has to come with that. So
Yeah, I only really ever hear bad things about multi-channel network, and I'm not in a multi-channel network, and I'm what 100,000 something like that. But
yeah,
I feel like I am big enough now, where if something bad happens and someone like screws me over, I can make enough noise. As if it was like I had no MCN and I was say like 1,500, fewer people knew who I was and what I did, then it would be harder. But I feel like I'm big enough now where I'm past the most vulnerable bit.
yeah, you're stationed, and you're not you're protected by yourself and your outreach. So in a way, I'm gonna keep with the interesting questions. So, uh, would you ever consider making a video about the rye stones of Yap Island if you know what that is? Have you ever heard of that?
I have never heard of that, which means if it's good, then it's the perfect sort of explained topic. But I don't know what it is, so I didn't have enough. Well, it would be a lie to say I didn't have enough time, but I didn't look it up.
Oh,
Could you explain it now?
okay.
Would that be like acceptable?
No, it's fine. Rye stones are a currency on this ancient island of Yap, and what it is a giant stone donut that people used as currency.
Oh, the like the I've seen this mentioned on QI because I watch QI a lot. Yeah, the big ones. I have some interesting facts about. Was it Japan that had them? But there was this. I'll briefly interrupt you and then I'll go back. People started sort of in because there were massive stones. People started basically paper currency, the way paper currency developed, and sort of passing over ownership slips of these big massive stones.
Yes.
I'm not sure if it's the same island. And then like when they were lost in like in storms, when they were being transported over the sea and they were lost, people still traded them with the slips, even though they were in the ocean, because they must still exist. They still had their worth. So that's I've heard that about some island. I'm not sure whether that's yeah.
I believe that is Yap because one person had a. Sorry to cut you off. I apologize, but a person had lost their stone, but it was officially recognized in the currency, and they traded it constantly.
Yeah, that must be it. Yeah, I'd say that's fairly interesting. Yeah, it's I don't see myself making a video about it. I'm not being like hard on you for like the topic because you've brought forth this topic thing, and now I feel like by saying yeah whatever, it's being like disrespectful or whatever. But really, when I sort of pick a topic, it has to really kind of like grab me and go, oh my god, that's fantastic. Oh my god, I must know more. And yeah, that didn't really do that, but then 99 out of 100 don't do that. Can I give you an example of something that did grab me, and now I'm making a video about it?
Yes. Also, I'm not offended, by the way. Like I was thinking about it during the questions. I'm like, I remember that dumb currency, but yeah, go on.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting in like a fact, like a top 5 facts thing where there's like not much to say. I get quite a few of those where it's like, here's a thing, and then here's like a story behind it that can be done in about 7 sentences, and I feel like I couldn't make a 15-minute video out of it. But I might make like another series where I do those instead. But here's a topic that really grabbed me. Let's see if it grabs you. Space guns.
I'm already grabbed by the name, but go on.
Basically, they are guns so big that you can fire the projectiles launched into space. That's how big they are. And people tried to make them back when like in the 20th century when people wanted to go to space, but they weren't quite sure how. back before like rockets became the obvious way. People tried all these really weird ways of going to space, and yeah, one way was space guns, where you know that cannon, like the thought experiment with the cannon on the planet, and where if you launch the cannonball far enough, it orbits. Have you seen that? I feel like
Yeah, I know of it.
yeah, that's called Newton's cannon, and it's basically a literal interpretation of Newton's cannon, where you've got a cannon so big that all the thrust is sort of come at once, and you like encircle the planet. And it has several flaws, and everyone who's tried it has been unsuccessful. So it's like a Dyson Sphere video where it's like totally hypothetical. But yeah, in H.G. Wells' The War of the Worlds, and also the book, what is it, Jules Verne's From the Earth to the Moon, they all use space guns. Like the Martians of The War of the Worlds use space guns to get to Earth. And then also you might okay, if I kind of describe this image, see if it rings a bell. There's like a moon with like a face on it that's really creepy, and it's like old time 1902 footage.
Yeah, To the Moon.
Yeah, Le Voyage dans la Lune, something like that. 1902 by Georges Méliès is loosely based on From the Earth to the Moon by Jules Verne, which is like 1860s. Uses a space gun in that too. If you look at the video, which I don't recommend doing now, but like
I've seen it as a film student, so yes.
they're in a capsule and then they get launched out of a cannon. Like that's a space gun. It's a bit more than a space gun because it goes right to the moon, but that's the concept. And yeah, that grabbed me as soon as I learned about it. I'm like, oh my god, I need to know more about this thing. And I've learned pretty much everything there is to know about space guns now, apart from the things that people like in the comments are going to talk about, and then I'm going to be totally out of my depth. But yeah, that's good.
Does that happen to be your next video?
Oh yeah, that's the one that I've got the script written for.
Do you want me to put this in this or no? Or when do you think that's going to release?
You can put this in this. I'm pretty like open about what I'm doing the next project about.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense because you say in your description. I'm sorry to cut you off. I got like excited because I figured something out. Um, it like your uh, banners on YouTube describe what you're doing next, and I just realized what it was because I was looking at it. I'm like, what could it be? That makes sense.
And I'm probably still going to change that one because it's got too much maths in, and I want to put some more sort of diagrams in. Like I've got the Newton's cannon thing on the right, and then also some like because that's the actual thing that I use on my wall. I can sort of whoops, I've broken it. This thing, this piece of paper here that I'm holding, there's this guy who's done all the maths for me about how to calculate suborbital trajectories and like how fast it would have to go to achieve a suborbital trajectory out of a cannon. And it is well, realize that this would have to be like several tons, the capsule. It would have to be going 3,042 meters a second, which is like 8,000 miles an hour, something like that. And yeah, it's ridiculously fast. And that's discounting the atmosphere, which means it would have to going even faster and also be really aerodynamic so that it wouldn't like destroy itself. But that means you can put humans in it either, because to get up to those G-forces, you'd have to accelerate too fast for humans. If you put humans into the capsule, they wouldn't be humans by the end of the voyage. There would be this kind of liquid thing going on. So it would mainly be for satellites that you'd have to sort of brace in weird ways. But yeah, that's my next video, which is quite interesting. I need to pin this back on the wall now.
I was about to say like you said earlier the Newton's cannons like flawed due to the fact that like yeah at those G forces you were going to turn into like a smoothie practically.
Number one, it's a thought experiment. Think about that. And number two, if you look at the diagram, the cannon's already at orbital velocity. If you look at the original, because I actually quote Isaac Newton in my current draft of the script, because I've heard it explained so many times that I might as well just let Newton do it. And in the original diagram, the cannon is already at orbital velocity, but you can't have the whole point of going to space is that it's from the Earth. If you go to space, that's not the point. So basically, you have to modify it so that it's a suborbital trajectory, and then you accelerate into the full orbit, because two-body gravitation means that you can't get into orbit from a single kick if you've got an atmosphere that you want to avoid. So there's another flaw, and also cost and engineering and firing mechanisms. And I also talk about Nazis, which is always fun. I've got a tally for that, I think, somewhere.
We have a tally for talk about Nazis. It's pretty good.
But yeah, that's a thing that I have going, and I'm not sure why.
Like you have a physical tally of it.
Yeah, it's somewhere. It's on like a piece of paper. It might be up in the other room. There it is. I might just make a new one because no one's going to notice there's inconsistencies.
That's pretty good. I gotta start doing that. But the moment I start doing that, the moment I have to start reflecting on myself and my ideals, just in case, like, oh wait, I think I already asked why you like Titanic, not like what got you into it, but like why.
Like you asked why. You asked what got me into it.
Oh, okay. So why do you like Titanic so much? Like in not in a derogatory way, obviously, but why do you?
No. It's someone saying, "Oh, why you like Titanic?" That's nowhere near derogatory. I'm perfectly fine saying.
No, I felt like I said that in a passive aggressive way, though. I'm sorry.
Well, why I like Titanic, it's gonna be like a complex thing, because basically I think it's because it's a fascinating story that couldn't really be written better if you were to write it, but it's true. Yeah, it's very hard to describe, and I know I'm not going to do it justice, but yeah, basically morality tale with all these different factors, and you've got the rich and the poor, and then you've got this kind of like engineering side of it, and also the history, and then you've got the archaeology of the fact that it's still there on the seabed, and then the race to find it, and then like all the artifacts, and then like how it went down, kind of like it's almost like a crime scene. And you've got all of these stories. There's like 2,200 stories that kind of took place in that few hours, and you've got kind of all of the interesting things that you wouldn't think about happening during that era. And it's just it's a brilliant case study of kind of like something wider. And it's also the fact that if you tried to write something like that, you couldn't, but it's real, and it really happened. And I feel like it's the greatest story that sort of ever happened. Yeah, I guess that's why I like it. I feel like I haven't described why I like it, but it's something odd about it. It's captivating. I mean, that's not just me. That's loads of people have just been like sort of drawn in by this thing, and yeah, there's just something about it, and I've sort of tried to put into words what that something is, but I don't think I've done very well. But yeah, there's something about it, and I am like failed to put into words what that is.
You get an understanding from it, like the way I would think you would see it is weirdly presumptuous, but like this is maybe even a little bit my own interpretation. Let's put it at that. The Titanic is interesting not only because it's like at the time, correct me if I'm wrong, one of the most like impressive engineering feats ever.
Oh, it was the biggest man-made object like that you could move on Earth. Yeah, continue.
The way that I like interpret it is like at that time we, like you said, we made the biggest man-made object that can move, and in the way that that skyscrapers are an answer to heaven or like to God, nature still struck us down in a way.
I mean, that's just another sort of layer to it, because there's so many layers. It's like an onion with so many layers.
So many
And
layers.
the layers that least interest me is probably like the morality of the nature versus kind of we can't overcome how powerful nature is, how much we try, because we can.
Yeah.
And it's there's definitely a morality tale there somewhere, and like many different layers of all like the heroic people that kind of like died, and then all the people that like the media kind of consumed as being cowardly because they survived, and like people who survived got home, went to see their mother who like slammed the door in their face because they survived and they were cowards then, and all of that sort of thing. And it's there's loads of kind of layers to it, and I don't think that you could ever really adequately describe something like that, certainly beyond my sort of grasp of the English language.
Right. Doesn't necessarily have to be well spoken to get the idea across, though. I guess in relation to that too, are you more, from what I gather from your channel and what you do, are you more fond of the ship itself or the disaster? I think I already know the answer to this, but I'm gonna ask it anyway.
That's an interesting one, because they kind of, the disaster is something that happens to the ship. So I really like the ship, and I also quite like the disaster as well. If I was forced to pick one, it would probably be the ship, but the disaster is really what makes it interesting.
That's what made it history, really.
Yeah, that, I mean, without it, like the biggest claim to fame of the Titanic would be that its sister ship, so AKA not it, like sliced a U-boat in half with a propeller. That would be like the biggest claim to fame, because there wouldn't really be anything else. It's just the sinking. Oh, fun fact, that is, by the way, true. The RMS Olympic, sister ship of the Titanic, during World War One, there was a U-boat that tried to like go for it. The torpedoes missed. The Olympic turned because it has the same turning circle as Titanic, which people say, oh, the rudder was tiny, it couldn't turn at all. Well, this ship, which has the same sized rudder, turned and then rammed this thing, and it dented it, and it dented the front of the Olympic as well, and then with like the 4-story tall propellers, sliced it in half. And it's, that would be like the biggest claim to fame of like those 3 kind of sister ships, if it wasn't for the disaster. That's like the disaster's the main reason people know about it. It's also what they make the movies about as well, which I guess kind of gives you a clue.
Yeah, I did not know that it sliced a U-boat in half.
Well, if you look at those propellers, if they're turning at like however many RPM they are, I don't want to get near them. The Britannic, when it sunk, the kind of like the third of the sisters, that started slicing up lifeboats because the captain didn't know how far the stern was out of the water, so started to go full steam for the nearest island of Kia, and the propellers were out of the water, and people were launching lifeboats, and people ended up in the propellers, and they died. There was quite a lot of people that died because they got like hit by the propeller. That's not a nice way to go. If you look, there's a picture of them showing the scale, and I shall find it. But yeah, they're massive. They're absolutely massive. When you imagine propellers, nah, they're bigger than that. If I just type in propellers Titanic, then it's going to come up, even though they're actually the propellers of the Olympic. Yep, first result. Thought so, because they're basically the same thing. What's the difference? Massive. I think I've pasted the right one.
Yeah. Oh my
No.
god. Wait,
Well,
no?
yeah, they're big propellers. I think that kind of gets sort of the scale across. But can you imagine like being in a lifeboat, which is probably like not that much bigger than yourself, and these things are just kind of, you're getting sucked towards them. It's awful. Yeah, I don't want to think about it. That's kind of like one of the worst ways to die. There's this nurse, Violet Jessup, was on both of the 2 that sunk when they sunk, and then when she was on the Britannic, she was in one of the lifeboats that like got squished, and she managed to just survive. But there was this arm clinging onto her leg, and she thought someone else was like had also survived, but it was just the arm. It was like severed at like halfway up, kind of like the upper arm, and it's horrible. Getting smushed by 38-ton bronze propellers, definitely up there on things I don't want to like spend my last moments doing.
Getting sliced by things 10 times the size of you, yeah. Oh, I'm looking at these like, I guess another another thing that I'm thinking about, you know, when they send boats into the into the ocean the way they do it. Do you know anything about that with Titanic, how they did that, or was it just the conventional way?
Well, you see the videos of like to save space in shipyards, they do it lengthways, where they like shove it in sort of sideways. But with the Titanic, they slid it in kind of backwards. So like, this isn't a very good picture because it's in the dry dock there. But imagine it basically slides away from you down into the ocean because it's built on a slope. I've been to the slope. Titanic gantry might be a good picture to show you. Basically, there's this massive gantry. It's called Arrow Gantries in Belfast that I've visited the site of. They're not there now. They were there till like the 1960s. But they were basically built in these things. You may have seen some pictures of the Titanic in the Arrow Gantry. It's pretty famous. And basically, they were like open at the other end, and they would just sort of slide backwards into the like lagoon. But they were massive. I've got a poster somewhere on my wall that shows the scale of these things, where it's got Belfast, and then it's got in the background these massive looming Arrow Gantries. And I saw it just now, and I'm just trying to think. Yeah, there's the picture of like once it's sort of slid backwards out of the Arrow Gantry. But it's not going to be one of those crazy kind of like do it to the side ones, because that's just ridiculous. I think they only do them when there's like space is an issue anyway.
I did see the first photo that you sent back when I learned about it. I'm just in awe of these photos, and also your knowledge of Titanic. But like,
I barely scratched the surface compared to like people who actually like know loads about it.
You're going to be making more videos about the Titanic, obviously, right? You speak very passionately about it. It's one of your high interests. How do I segue into this? Into others.
Or just like jump straight in. It's like fine if it doesn't like entirely relate.
Yeah, I know. I just feel like obligatory interview because so far it's been very interesting and like actually going well. Because you actually talked. The person that I had before, it was very weird. Or the person I tried to get on, but it just didn't work out. Well, let's just jump into another one. I'm editing that part out. What is the weirdest comment that you ever got? Like,
that's a good one, because you get the odd person who's a bit weird, and I'm not sure. I know what the most embarrassing one is, but don't know. I don't know what the weirdest one is. Shall I say what the most embarrassing one is?
yeah, only if you want.
Well, yeah, it's fine. I've like mentioned that it exists, so it should be fine. Basically, there's this YouTuber called Cody's Lab. Have you heard of him?
It sounds familiar, but I can't say that I know.
He's quite popular. He has 1 million subscribers at the moment, so he's quite popular. And he left a comment on one of my videos, and I'm not sure what it was about, but the embarrassing thing is it was on one of my terrible ones, and he was like saying information about it, which means he'd watched it, which means he'd watched one of my videos, but it was one of the terrible ones. I think it was the one that I made in like 48 hours about Mars's moon that's like Phobos that's disintegrating. One of the really bad ones that I'm starting to private because they're just so bad. And he watched it, and that's just so embarrassing because this was less than 6 months ago, and it was so embarrassing because I've moved on since like the PowerPoint presentations that I literally just like filmed. Yeah, that was by far the most embarrassing, because it's like, this is not this. I've moved on. Please don't look at this stuff. Please just forget it exists. Oh well, that's the most embarrassing.
Yeah, having somebody with 1 million subscribers commenting on your thing would be a little not stressful, but like oh, and of course it had to be like one of your videos that you not part of your stuff now. Like, not to go off, it's not even off topic. I got a comment from a guy named Mother's Basement. Have you ever heard of him?
No.
He's got like 200,000 subs. It's embarrassing because the comment was correcting me in the most passive aggressive and like mean way possible, and I really like his content. I'm like, oh god.
Well, what was it specifically? Can you remember?
Um, you know what? I'm just gonna go pull it up. It was on the extra credits video. Have you ever heard of that channel?
I've heard of extra credits. Yeah, I don't watch them. I think I vaguely remember you making a video. I'm not. Yeah, extra credits, game design made easy.
Yeah.
Approachable game design, YouTube profiles. Yeah, I can see it here like 4 months ago.
He commented on it. 1 moment. Oh, don't start up with the volume. I'm recording this. Oh, thank God it didn't. Yeah, Mother's Basement. Actually, Dan works for Undead Labs now, not Pixar. Like, oh god.
He's got the verified tick mark thing. Yeah, you know he's important when he's got that sort of thing going on.
Yeah, and I'm like, oh. Like, I just commented on it. It wasn't necessarily rude. I don't know why I said that. I think I remembered it like that because I'm like, oh, I screwed up. But nonetheless.
Yeah, I could see how you could interpret it like that, but I think it was just. I don't think he was intending it as passive aggressive. But then I don't know who he is, so he might have done. I don't know.
I might have thought that because he's like a critic, so of things. That might be where that cognition or interpretation comes from.
I could see that. Yeah, critics tend to be quite critical, so
I'd hope so. Fun fact: I was originally supposed to be a movie critic, but I'm horrible at writing movie reviews. And actually, here's an improv question. What's your favorite film? I know that's an obligatory question, but list a few of your favorites or like what you really like.
Good, because if I list my favorite, you're just gonna groan, because we've already been discussing the topic of my favorite.
Oh,
half an hour.
Oh my god! I should have known.
I knew that there was going to be the reaction, because before, when I've been discussing it, oh, what's your favorite film with people? They always have that reaction. And no, it's not the Nazis. It's the recent one. Well, fairly recent. Yeah, that film. But other than that, what are some other ones? The film that shall not be named. I think that's one of the only ones where I changed my intro to kind of parody, because, well, no, it wasn't parodying. Basically, in the Big Piece video, yeah, that's Big Piece video, I changed the intro of the film, and I think that's one of the only times I've done that, but I really loved it. No, I did a Back to the Future one as well. That Back to the Future 1 and 3 are also some really good ones. The Time Machine, the 1960 version, I really like. What are some other good films that I like to watch? This is one of those ones where like half an hour later I'm gonna be like, I know, like Up is like one of them. Yeah, no, Up is one of them. What's some other ones? That's kind of like the general sort of overview. I can't think of. I'm just thinking of films and then like whether I like them. So I'd say Up and Back to the Future 1 and 3 and what is it? Yeah, the Time Machine.
Time Machine.
1960 version. And what else? You might have to cut out me going all the time, because there's probably going to be, and has been, quite a lot of it. Where I go again?
It's either I'll do that or I'll just say, and it gives him character. That'll be my excuse for laziness.
Yeah, something like that. In ascending order, I'd say Back to the Future 3, the Time Machine, the 1960 version, because they remade it. Then Back to the Future. No, then Up, then Back to the Future. Then 1997, like 11 Oscar-winning that film that shall not be named because we've already talked about that loads. Yeah, I'd say that's kind of like my favorite films.
Very, very nice. I should have figured the first one though.
I've seen like loads more, but that is like genuinely like the best one. I'm not sure whether it's because like since 1963 no, 1953, that A Night to Remember came out, which was like the last like full one apart from the one that's my favorite. That's kind of like low, it's like low quality, and I think make it my favorite as well. If they remade A Night to Remember, it would be very, very good. And also, like, it doesn't break in half in A Night to Remember because they hadn't found the wreck yet. So there's that. There's also a 2012 miniseries that I've watched half of, and I didn't really like it because they were trying to be the film that shall not be named and were failing. And they just couldn't really do it that well. And yeah, that one is like the best. It's not only a good film because, well, it's like apart from Avatar, it's like the highest grossing film of all time. So other people like it, obviously, as well as me. It's also the best kind of on-screen representation of
the events.
the thing, yeah, that shall not be named. That I am actually managing to get through without saying it once. So that's fun. If a little confusing for some people watching, like for like 3 people that kind of like got past the Nazis bit.
Yeah, the 45 minutes talking about the thing, the giant nautical thing.
Like, oh, in the comments, it's like, oh, what did you mean by that thing that you were referencing at like 1 hour and 20 minutes in?
They're gonna do that on purpose.
He's like, what thing? You know, the thing.
The thing.
Oh, God. Yeah, very descriptive. We've done flags, which is brilliant to discuss on something that otherwise wouldn't have visuals, and then also something which relies totally on kind of like implicit stuff. So really kind of stretching the boundaries of what can be done in this format.
Yeah. The In A Night to Remember, like, I remember the sinking scene resonating with me. The sinking of the nautical object. It just the practical effects of that. I actually really like A Night to Remember, possibly over the movie that shall not be named. Even though I love the movie that shall not be named. Don't get me wrong.
With the movie that shall not be named is that it happened right in the middle of that era when Hollywood was using CG for everything, like everything, and it was horrible. And they kind of pulled out of it in like 2004. But James Cameron used loads and loads of practical effects. If you look at the behind the scenes, like when like the bridge is sinking, that's all real. They built that and they sunk that.
I've seen the
drones back then. So what he did is he put a camera on top of like a crane dolly thing, like so you could get helicopter shots almost without having like a helicopter, and it's like 90% practical, and I love it for that because if it had been CG, it would have been really, really bad. But yeah, I really like the Night to Remember, like the practical. I like practical effects, like as a rule of thumb. But yeah, I quite like A Night to Remember because the protagonist is Lightoller, who is the second officer of Titanic, instead of Jack and Rose, who are entirely fictional.
Yeah. Also, you ended up saying the thing that shouldn't be named.
Did I?
Yep.
No. I said the bridge. Did I?
You said the bridge, but after, like, just a minute ago, you just said...
Oh, shit. Okay. You might have to, like, bleep that or something.
No, for the joke, yes, I will.
So it's really obviously edited. It's like, oh, the bridge that shall not be named. Oh, yeah, when we're talking about that film, blah, 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 blah. For the joke, I think we have to kind of preserve this.
Yeah, I won't. I'm just gonna find like a clip of you saying like "shall not be named" like really fast in like a comedic way. I guess like you said to save it for the end, but like not sure how much you wanted to go into it since you're private. But like,
well, I didn't say towards the end. It was like latter half. I mean, yeah, but presumably we'll do that now then.
Yeah. Even though you've talked personally about like what you like and your YouTube, but like what do you do outside your channel? Like, do you have like a job or do you go to school? Just give us an idea if you don't want to say explicitly what it is.
I don't give my name, and I don't say what I do or like what age I am. People have their guesses, and it's very entertaining to me when they do guess. But I just don't talk about it because it's not relevant, really. I've been kind of like going over this in my head as to kind of like how to best describe it, but it's
Would you
just not
say? I'm sorry.
really that.
Oh, go on. I apologize.
You say what you're gonna say in a minute, because like if it's like, oh, I'm 42 or I'm 24 or I'm like 16 or I'm 37 or whatever, I'm just, does it matter? Like really, honestly, I think it's only people's curiosity.
Yeah, it's kind of like a fun fact in a way, but like the way I see what you're saying is like the person behind the microphone stays that private, but Zephyros is its own thing in your head.
Like if you walked up to me on the street, that person, it's hard to like describe this without making me sound mentally deranged. But if you walked up to me on the street, the person who is there isn't the person talking to you right now. It's like Zephyrus is a personality. And I've even stopped saying, "Oh, hey, I'm Zephyrus, and welcome to the new video," in my most recent videos because it's like a name. I mean, it gives the channel a name, but it's like it does.
It isn't relevant to it.
Yeah, it's. I mean, like, oh, stating my name as, like, stating my age as 21 or 19 or 23 or 25. It's like, how does that further your enjoyment of listening to me talk about how they found the wreck of the Titanic? No, I can talk about the Titanic, just not the film. No, wait, shit, I've completely lost track of how that joke went. But yeah, I'm sure you can fix it in editing. You can fix everything in editing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like it doesn't further your enjoyment. I think it's just human curiosity, which is fine. Like human curiosity has got us to like the moon, but it's just not relevant, and it just doesn't really matter.
It's a
I mean,
trivial
like,
fact.
yeah, it doesn't affect you at all. I mean, on the very slim chance that I talk to you on like the street or something, which is very, very slim because right now it's 0 out of 103,000, then it's still not really going to come into it, to be honest.
Yeah.
Not relevant, really. And I feel like the people that do this, apart from like CGP Grey, who is like an educational YouTuber who does it, everyone eventually sort of comes out with their names and ages, which I don't like. I don't like the idea that it's inevitable. So I'm going to keep it going as long as possible.
When like bigger YouTubers like give out their name, I think it's more or less like they've become more of a public figure in other things because of their channel. Certainly, you certainly like. Oh, go on.
Yeah, no, say what you're going to say. I'm just kind of like thinking as you're talking.
Oh, um, what's this? Why am I forgetting their names? Um, Nerd Brothers.
Vlog Brothers.
The what?
You said Nerd Brothers. Do you mean like Vlog Brothers? Like,
Yeah, Vlogger. Oh my god, their thing was like, yeah, Hank and like they became public figures out of that. They did use their names back then, but that's a really bad example. What am I talking about?
a good example of this is I Hate Everything.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Real name, and then did a face reveal, and then kind of slowly sort of let it consume them. I guess that sounds weird when I say it like that.
They let their real selves get in the way of like this persona they have.
It is really a persona. It's quite hard to talk about it without sounding mentally deranged, but it is like a persona, just like a performer, but it's on the internet.
Yeah, I can see it that way because I certainly have that despite my real name being publicly displayed on my channel. The reason I have my real name associated with it, not only because I'm open about it, but also like outside of this, I have like other career things like film and stuff. So it's just kind of like, oh, here's this. Kind of like how Max Landis has like the YouTube channel up to my knees, and that's kind of a persona of his, but like it's just by association that I have it. Like, hey, yeah, if you know Nick Fouts from this thing or this thing, there's this channel. It's just kind of there, and I'm more open about it. But I do understand your like privacy and your idea behind it. Like having a persona actually probably is a lot more conducive to your work than revealing yourself. So just like you said with I hate everything. So
Were you going to say something more?
oh no, what?
Because I have a question for you. New profile banner icon things. Because I was going to ask about that. Just what's going on with that? I'm just quite interested because
This might actually. I'm sorry. Go on.
well, it's like because I don't have a mascot for like because I kind of call them mascots, but it's like people also use it as personas and stuff. Like when they've got like a talking character on screen saying the stuff that they're saying, and I'm like one of the only few that doesn't have that because I'm noticing like an ever increasing amount of people having those. So I'm just interested as your thought processes behind it.
I I'm fully prepared for this because I've come up with a reasoning behind it. And this goes full circle with the persona idea because as I said, I was pretty open. Like BluShades back before like this hiatus was more directly me, but the problem was when it comes to recording and doing this through my writing, it's very factual and very direct. There was not very much room for like my personality because I didn't want to make it about myself, and that's kind of really like counterproductive to becoming like widely known. Not that that's my whole gain anyway. I'm more of a filmmaker than I am doing this. This YouTube is really just to expand my portfolio more than anything. But the reason I'm bringing in this mascot is because I need to amplify my actual, like, abrasive personality. Like you said, outside of Zephyros, you're probably a totally different person. Outside of BluShades, I am a grotesque and loud motherfucker, to put it simply. Like, I am my personality is very abrasive, and I'm trying to find a way to do that, and I'm looking at this like Fox logo that I have, and I'm like, okay, that doesn't necessarily express anything good about, or not good, but anything like remotely about who I am or who I could be through my videos.
It's not really that expressive. It's just kind of, it's like a corporate logo.
Yes, it's very cold.
Yeah, and it's blue as well, which helps.
Yeah. My whole thought process behind the original was like Fox, clever, blue, intelligence. Doesn't necessarily represent my work since I talk about just YouTube in a way, but I have like an ulterior motive to why I do that, but it doesn't really stand out by that. The mascot is to amplify my personality through a talking figure, because not only do other YouTubers do it who have become successful because of that change, but also it's easily marketable, and also I feel like it takes away the cold, like, emptiness of my videos the way I feel, because when I watch one of my videos, it's like I'm just kind of talking about these people like in a very fanatical way. Then I realize that I'm monotone. I'm like, I need to bring more personality into it. Like, I don't need to make it about myself, but I need to, like,
yeah, make it yours.
I have to make it mine instead of just this one-off video that people are going to see. Like, I have to retain an audience somehow. Not to say I haven't, but, like, there's got to be something unique about me to bring to the table. But, yeah, that's about it.
Okay, yeah, no, that's quite interesting, because I don't have one, and now I'm very slightly paranoid that I have a very cold, empty sort of video thing going on.
No, don't feel like that, because yours, like, again, you're not, like, with my thing, I'm not going for more comedy, but just, like, something way more expressive. You don't necessarily need, like, a mascot, and in a way, it's kind of like a cop-out, unfortunately, to it, because that just means that I'm not, like, expressive enough to do it. Like, I'm not charismatic enough to do it, and that's like reflecting on me. You are, like, likable enough to not have it. So that's more in your advantage in your field.
The character of Zephyros has the ability to script everything they say so they can say funny stuff. Whereas I can see what you mean about the mascot thing, how it affects the personality. And it's very interesting because obviously I don't have any experience with this sort of thing. So it's kind of interesting in a I don't know what it's like, so it's pretty interesting because it's this whole different world type thing. I described it horribly, but you might understand. And yeah, I wonder what my mascot would be if I had one. Guess we'll never know.
Would it possibly be the god of Zephyros? No.
I'm not quite that obsessed. That's no, I've seen there's pictures on DeviantArt of horrible monstrosities of people who have tried to make versions of vehicles like that. No, don't do that. No, bad. Burn it all. That is not a thing that you ever want to. No, I'm not quite that obsessed. So, yeah, people like to do animals, which is they're easier than people to kind of draw in a stylistic way because they're less likely to hit the uncanny valley. Or like robots. Robots are cool. It might be a robot. I don't know. But then I'll probably never make a mascot. So this is all just kind of speculation, and speculation probably isn't the most interesting thing to be listening to.
I'd beg to differ. I'd say if you had a mascot, it would be it would. This is okay. This is the joke one. Just a big ship with like two eyes that like glow red when you talk.
Oh God.
It's like a horrid looking just big ship that just takes up a part of the screen that just
It's just like at the beginning of videos. It's just like a stage, and then like there's a 5-second pause, and then just this shit plows into like, the background. And it's like, hey everyone, Zephyr here, talking about this cool thing I've learned about. And it's like, oh my God.
and to make it even more funnier, just like the sounds of the ship overtake your voice, just like just you just faintly hear you say, "Hey, I'm Zephyros."
Oh man.
Don't take that idea.
No, I'm not going to, but it's really funny.
Just hey guys, like or just make it the Titanic. That would be. Don't do that. That'd be hilarious, though.
Yeah, I can see why people go for animals. They're more kind of manageable in the sort of character
Yeah, that's why.
leaving.
That's why Orwell's stories or Animal Farm is so well. That's literature more than illustration, though.
Yeah, I'm sure someone's made a graphic novel of it. I mean, they're making graphic novels of everything nowadays. So it's yeah. I haven't read. I tried to read 1984, and I just couldn't do it. I read like the first chapter, and it just wasn't very interesting. But then it was a couple years ago, so I might try again. I managed to struggle through The Hobbit, being like, okay, it's gonna get good any second now. And then like I did about a quarter of the first book of the Lord of the Rings, and it was like wading through treacle. It's just it wasn't interesting. You didn't get anywhere. I didn't find it interesting, so I gave up. And now everyone shouts at me when I say that I've given up on Lord of the Rings because they love it, and no other opinions can exist.
Yeah, yeah. J.R.R. Tolkien is like a great writer. I've read The Hobbit, but nothing else. Not out of like not interested in it, but I was just like, God, like fantasy doesn't really do it for me.
Yeah, well, I've read all 7 of the Narnia books, so and people don't even realize that like the Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe is number 2. There's like a prequel to it.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah, well, there's 7, and it's quite interesting because number 1 is like the birth of the planet, and it shows how the lamppost gets there, and how Aslan's there, and how some of the animals can talk and some of them can't, and like how that happens. And it also sets up how the wardrobe works. They get there in the book through like these magic rings, and then to kind of dispose of them, they bury them and plant a tree on top. And then the tree grows, the tree dies, so they cut down the tree and make a wardrobe out of it. So it sets up all of these things, which are very interesting. And then like book 6 and book 7, it's like the heat death of that universe. The sky is red, and like everything dying, and like the world is basically ending, and it's quite depressing. But it's quite interesting to see like the life cycle of the world of Narnia. I mean, you get a bit of it in like the Silmarillion, but it's like Game of Thrones or Lord of the Rings. You only really get a glimpse of it, whereas like it's almost like time travel in Narnia because you keep on hopping into further and further forward bits, and you just see the life cycle.
So it goes through like the whole life
Yeah,
cycle
well,
of that
if I
world.
remember it correctly. Yeah, yeah. The books span the entire history of Narnia, from its creation in The Magician's Nephew, which is the first, to its eventual destruction in The Last Battle. So that's probably why it's called The Last Battle. Then, yeah, it's an interesting series, and I haven't read them in like 5, 6, 7 years, something like that. But it's very interesting. Yeah.
Huh. I've never read the Narnia books. Another, I guess, a question. Like, I'm also into literature, but like, what's your like one of your favorite books, or how often do you read?
I do not read as much as I would like to. I think it's just like hours in the day. I used to read loads, and now I don't anymore, and I really should. And my favorite book, I don't know. I quite like H.G. Wells' stuff. There's Jules Verne. Jules Verne's also pretty good. I like the Harry Potter series. I like Narnia. What else do I like reading? I don't know. I haven't really thought about this, like really ever. No one's really asked me what my favorite book is, which seems quite odd. Um, I'd probably go with The Time Machine.
Now, this is more of a British question, but how do you feel? How do you feel about the Harry Potter fandom? Do you feel are you heavy into the fandom, or are you like would you consider yourself into the fandom of Harry Potter? Is the first question I should ask.
No, I'm not in any fandom. I like loads of things. I like things loads, but I'm not in
But you're not in the fandom.
animated series that some people on YouTube might know about called Eddsworld. Yeah, and
Oh, I know Ed's World.
yeah, and I recently discovered there's like an Eddsworld fandom. No, I didn't realize that exists. I didn't realize it needed to, but apparently it does, and I wish I didn't know because it's like, why can't you just enjoy something yourself? Why do you need to group together in these
In these congregations and these.
make sexual kind of like pairings between like all boys? And it's like, no one needed this. Why are you doing this? This is not needed. This is why it sours something. Because if you enjoy something, that's you enjoying it. You don't need to like affirm that with other people. It's like, oh, do you like this thing? Oh no, I thought it was okay. Well, I think it's okay too. Yay! It's like if you like something, like something. It's fun to talk about things with other people, but like leave it there. It doesn't. You don't need all this kind of like fandoms that build up, and it's like you can't have any because that's the next thing that happens. You can't have a negative opinion of anything,
Yeah.
and you build a hive mind slowly. And it's like you don't need that. That happens naturally with a group, so just don't have a group. It's nice to discuss things with like people one on one, but it's you if you enjoy something yourself, enjoy it yourself.
I have the exact same stance. I'm not part of any fandom, really, in any way. Even though I've gone to like anime conventions, I'm not necessarily. I don't identify myself as a fan of like or part of the fandom of something. I I guess maybe I'm harping more on like internet culture, but despite being someone who makes videos about YouTubers, I wouldn't consider myself part of their fandoms in a way either. It's more I admire their work and I can talk about it in a journalistic sense.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not. Yeah, no, I'm not really part of any. I mean, there's some YouTubers that I like loads, but I'm not like part of a community that likes them.
Yeah.
I just like them. It's not.
You're like entirely independent of it. Like you don't have like a strong dedication and a group for it to go to. It is weird. I only say that because I have tons of friends who are like just huge Harry Potter fans, and they are part of that like very, I don't want to say it, but like I feel like it's a cancerous fandom.
It definitely can be, like especially some. I think the most cancerous, or like the one that I've heard the most cancerous things about is like the Steven Universe thing. That is apparently this animated series that everyone loves, but I've never like really even remotely heard of. So it's apparently this animated series, and it's got a really rabid fandom. And some girl drew like a picture of one of the characters in it, which like the fandom deemed wrong, and you can't disrespect the fandom, so they bullied her.
Yeah, I've heard of that story.
Yeah, it's an awful thing, and I don't really want to be part of something that's capable of doing that. It's if you enjoy something, enjoy something. Don't
Yeah,
like berate people for enjoying things differently. It's how humans enjoy things. If it was all the same, it would be boring, and that's boring. So enjoy the differences. Don't like hate it.
yeah. Don't have like a hive mind echo chamber opinion about things, especially in like some popular medium. I don't know what else to ask.
You said something about immortality.
Oh yeah, let's. You know what? Let's conclude it with that. I'm sure, like, if people got to this point, they know that we said something about like I'd say, oh, I got a question about like immortality. So you know what? I don't even need to ask it. Just like, what's your ideas on immortality? Since you want, like you said, you wanted it.
I thought I did. With immortality, is that if you live forever, let's say that you live forever, and not only that, you get the best version of living forever, and you get to be in like your prime pristine body, and you can't die, and you can't age. That's like the best version. But you still get everyone you've ever loved dying, and everything you've ever known will die. That's just a fact of life. It's just sometimes you die before they do, so you never see it. And like whoever you make friends with, you know that to you, within like the next few days, they will die because time speeds up as you go forward. And then eventually you'll get to the point where there's no more humans left because eventually we'll all die. I'm giving us like a few million years before like humanity as a species dies, but you'll be left and you'll have no one to talk to. There'll be no more writing as a civilization. There'll be no more civilization or like human interaction forever. There'll be like nothing more. And then like the constructs that you take for granted will degrade as well. And there's this I'm kind of going off topic here, but there's this documentary series called Life After People, which is all about like how if humans disappeared, all the infrastructure would crumble because there was nothing to maintain it. It's more scientific than that, but that's basically a synopsis. That would happen, and eventually the planet would like just completely be unrecognizable, and then it would go away, and so would the sun, and you'll just be left floating forever, and it's eventually 100 trillion years in the future, which you will exist at because you're immortal. There will be nothing left. There's this really good short story I read about it called Isaac Asimov, which she'll get back to. Yeah, the last question is very good. But eventually there will be nothing left except you in a black void forever. No light, no time, possibly. Just hell. That's what hell is. I want to die in like 100 years after I've lived a brilliant life and I've loved loads of people and loads of people have loved me and I've done loads of stuff. And then like in 1,000 years when I'm dead and buried, people look back at me and go, hey, he was all right. And that's really all I want.
To leave a legacy of some kind.
Yeah, I mean, it's totally useless in the end because you don't remember after you're dead. But it would be nice in a sort of dying happy sort of thing. But it's because living forever would be awful. So instead, just do something cool with the limited amount of life that I happen to have by a very, very like tiny chance I've had this life. So I'm going to make the most of it, and nothing's going to stop me.
Yeah, that's like a very in-depth perspective of it, and you definitely, you're making the fullest of it now, doing what you do on YouTube. And I don't know what your personal life is, but hey, you're 100,000 people have eyes on you, so yeah.
Yeah, I feel like the X number of years that I've been kind of sentient, I've done well with them. It's not like there's any sort of major mistakes that I've made so far, which is pretty good, but does mean that they're still ahead of me because it's inevitable that I'm going to make some. So I'm doing pretty well so far, but who knows? I'll try and keep it up or do even better.
Sky's the limit, unless you want to break the sky. Oh, that was
That sounds fun.
yes.
Or like rent a submarine, make enough money to like rent a submarine and go and visit interesting water structures that I will be very general about because of a running joke. But it's interesting what I'm going to do in my life because I don't really know at the moment. It's there's so much to do.
Freedom is a double-edged sword, unfortunately. Like you have so much to do, but you know that you're gonna have to do one thing either to sustain or not. But like, at least you got to do as much as possible in this life. So that's just philosophical semantics, though.
Yeah, that talking about has reminded me of a short story, which I actually is probably one of the last things that I've read so far. Have you read The Last Question by Isaac Asimov?
I know of it. I general idea. I think. 1 second.
Basically, it's like seven individual stories that happen, and they're all kind of like go through time. Like the first one is 2056, no 2061, and then the second one is like, and it's like 200 million years in the future, and it just go forward through time and through time, and it shows the progress, and it's all about the last question, which is, can entropy be reversed? And and there's this big computer that they kind of build through time. The story is basically every time it gets asked the question, and it's very scary, and it has one hell of an ending. So although it takes like half an hour, and probably not going to read it now because it takes half an hour, and it's like 2:45 now, I would recommend you read it because that ending is one of the best endings I have ever seen in a piece of literature. You will not see it coming. I, I, I stopped to go to the toilet like a sentence before that because I didn't know that it was only a sentence more, and I didn't see it coming. I thought it was like I was halfway through it, and then it was that one sentence, and it tied everything together perfectly. And oh my god, it was fantastic. I'm not trying. I probably overhyped it there, but it's a good. I would recommend. Yes.
So I have nothing else to do for the rest of the night. I'm gonna have to go. I'm gonna have to put down the one book I was reading. But yeah, I'm definitely gonna read that because it is science fiction, which is one of my favorite genres.
Have you seen? There's a 2005 film called I, Robot. Have you seen that?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. You know the three laws of robotics,
Yes.
like the don't harm anyone, do humans bidding, save yourself, and then like unless they conflict with the first or second laws. You know those laws. Isaac Asimov came up with them. He's like a science fiction author, but he has contributed so much to actual science and like robotics and all the stuff he writes about. Because this is about the first one is in 2061, and he wrote it in 1956, and it is incredible when you read it as to like how someone did that in 1956, because it sounds like it could be written today, and it still holds up, and it's I really need to read more of Isaac Asimov's stuff.
I'm
It's
I'm actually
story.
downloading the PDF. Like,
Oh yeah, you in like the proper way, because it deals with like entropy and stuff, which I briefly touched on in Why I Don't Want to Live Forever, the essay that I kind of read out. So yeah, that's sort of something I've thought of. Is there? I feel like we're coming to the end of this.
we are. I wasn't expecting this to be this long, but it's fine. This has been really good, and I imagine it's really late where you are. So
2:43, but it's fine. I was up till 4:40 yesterday watching the Titanic. Shit, I was watching a
Yeah.
random ship sink. So
The
just
beat.
gonna have to go through this and bleep this out. Yeah, yes, it's been fun, like really talking. And if you ever want me, I know like it sounds really dumb and needy, but if you ever want me back, I'll be happy to come back and do another one of these.
Oh, definitely. Thank you for coming on. Obviously, let's. The main problem me and you are having right here is that we cannot find a good way to close this out, and I think it's hilarious.
Yeah, no, I can't say goodbye.
We're playing like a horrible game of 4D chess right now. It's hilarious.
In conversations, it always has to be the other one who goes, right, well, look at the time. Oh, I've best be off. And I'm like, well, okay. I'm always the one that's kind of passively accepting a goodbye. I'm not very good at kind of going, okay, it's 2:45. I need to go. Because to be honest, I don't actually need to. I'm like, if it was 4:45, then yes, but I'm probably going to be up for another hour. It's reached the end of its natural life, like what we're talking about.
Yeah, the video.
Only going to end up cutting good stuff, I think, at this point.
So, I've been BluShades, and this has been. Or
what? Have I got to say something?
oh, I was gonna say like that was horrible coordination. I should have said like you should say your name like, and this has been, instead of making it sound like a horrible like static interference or like.
Right? Yeah. No. What do I need to say? Please tell me this time beforehand.
I apologize. Here, I was just like, this is BluShades, and then you say your name. I apologize.
What? And then you just say the rest of it afterwards.
Yeah. You know what? We're just gonna add on. We're gonna end on that horrible confusion just for laughs. Like
Oh,
that.
okay. Yeah. No. Sure. That's fine by me because I don't have to say it again.